We got why Warlords versus Akatsuki isn't close. Will I get upset? Maybe, because I know the reality of what's going to be said. Because most of Akatsuki is fodder, besides like 2 characters. So check it out. My depression's already kicking in.
And there will be 2 rounds to determine a winner. One with who would win in a fight normally, and in round 2 who would win in a fight in equal stats. Alright guys,
equal
let's
stats.
waste
Oh wait,
no
yeah, I'm
time.
ready for this.
Buckle up and let's
Equal
get
stats. I want to hear that.
Round 1. Weevil versus Orochimaru.
Who is
Both are in
that?
their respective groups, but it's weird because Weevil doesn't
That's
do
got
anything, and
earring, bro.
Orochimaru barely counts as an Akatsuki.
It's really quiet? You think that was quiet? Huh? Okay, I'll turn up a little bit. Him screaming in my ears was not pleasant.
This match is a freebie
Okay.
for you Naruto fans though, since Weevil legit has nothing going for him unless you think he's actually equal to Whitebeard. Which for this video I'm not going to be saying because there is legit
Dude, this
no
guy looks
feat
so
for Weevil
goofy.
to back this up. And in equal stats I think Orochimaru would win regardless just because he outhaxes him. So the winner for this round would be Orochimaru.
Equal stats.
Now for the next match,
Equal stats
we
does make sense.
have
What do you mean? It just means that whoever has like the better battle experience, better IQ, the better abilities, will most likely win, or like their fight styles. That would be how they won. It does make sense.
Arguably weakest Warlord versus the weakest Akatsuki member. That being Buggy versus Hidan.
Hidan clears.
Now, Hidan unironically is the slowest of the Akatsuki.
Hidan clears Buggy.
Feet-wise. Bro actually lost to Asuma and is at best relative to Kakashi. However, this Kakashi isn't even using MS, and we know he gets way stronger throughout the series. So
No, I know Buggy outstats him completely. I know that. I'm not dumb. However, Buggy can't kill him. And Hidan can one-shot him. So, I mean, eventually he get a move off. Or to get some blood out of him. And then Buggy probably let him do his little... lick his little pole. Hey, pause. Wait. He let, he let, pause. Oh my god. He'll probably let him lick the blood. And then shank himself. Because he'd be confused and he'd die. Facts.
Like, doesn't really matter. However, we do know the likes of even Kid Kakashi
Buggy can't be
can chop
cut?
lightning bolts. However,
He could be pierced. He uses a pole.
for Luffy,
All you do
doesn't
is get a
react
drop
to
of
lightning
blood,
since pre-time skip,
and it's
we
GG's.
see him getting multiple times stronger, and Buggy would go on to be relative with this Luffy. We even see him perceiving Kizaru's laser and reacting to characters who should be well into light speed. Buggy should be faster than Hidan and unironically could damage Hidan since he has Buggy
Yeah,
Bombs,
absolutely.
an opponent who can fight Gear 2 Luffy,
Absolutely.
who's casually eating island cracking punches. Also, with Buggy's abilities, he'd never even get chopped by Hidan and could chop his head off like Asuma. Winner, Buggy, and even with equal stats, I think Buggy just outranges Hidan and would probably be able to cut his head off. Next up, we have Mama versus Mama.
No, wait, but cutting his head off doesn't do anything. Because you have to completely separate like his body parts and keep them separate and he dies over time. But I'm not opposed to that like happening, because bro. And also he doesn't really slash, he pierces. It's Hidan. He has a pole. But I'm not opposed to that at all. Just saying.
Conan versus Boa Hancock. Conan unfortunately doesn't have any good feats outside of almost killing Obito with prep time, and we know she's probably faster than Hidan, but Boa would upscale from the likes of Buggy. Since she scales above Smoker, who bodies this Luffy, Buggy is shown to be comparable to.
Of course Smoker
and Buggy's
bodies
only
him.
comparable to this version of Luffy in base in terms of speed, whereas Boa is beating up Smoker, who is, and we do see her attacks having a type of durability negation, so with this,
Oh, thank you
Boa
for the
should be able
follow
to easily
styles. I
tag
appreciate
and just
that.
take down Conan.
He don't trash by
And
himself?
let's
No.
say she
No, he
would've
is.
pulled the
He don't
attack
trash.
that she did on Obito off. At that point, sure, Conan wins, and in terms of equal stats, maybe
Bro, I'm
she
not
can
even
win,
bringing up
but it is
Naruto.
a little
What do you
weird
mean?
to say. I think in equal stats,
See,
maybe it
you
might
got-
be up in the air with.
You got Naruto on your mind right now. See, Naruto lives in your head rent free. That is crazy.
Maybe Conan having better range, but I'm not sure how it would be able to interact with the likes of her observation hockey. And if she were to tag Conan once,
No,
is it
Conan's
wraps?
trash.
I really don't know at that point. But what I do know is, in terms of a normal fight, Bo would slap. Datara fighting another sand guy. How will it go this time? Well, we know Crocodile could be intercepted by Luffy in Gear 2, along with him being portrayed to be relative to Gear 3 Luffy in AP. And this same Luffy who hurts Moria can split islands, and as for Datara, his best attack, that being C0, is calculated to be at small country level, which I do not think Crocodile can really do anything to stop, but what if he just escapes the area like Sasuke, or simply drains Datara's hydration as he's trying to get it off?
And it's that move, that C0 move, if you get hit by it, you're just dead. So you do have to bail. And like the radius isn't that big, like you just said. I think it was like country size. It's not that big of a radius, but if it touches you, it's GG's.
I also think in character,
Sexy.
Crocodile would just be the type to get Datara on edge, so I honestly think the whole situation
he'd
is
edge
just
him.
preying on Datara's downfall.
Datara's mid, yeah.
Without C0,
Small
there's
country, whatever
really
he said,
no
yeah.
way to prove he could really harm Croc. To determine who's faster is kind of interesting because Croc and Datara are both characters who are kind of trash but kind of strong. Like, reanimated Datara is actually apparently strong, whereas alive Datara just kind of sucks. And Crocodile, I would say, is like Lightspeed kinda, and then you have Marineford where he's apparently clashing with Doflamingo, being able to take attacks from Jozu,
This is just
stopping
anime
Mihawk.
inconsistency.
However, I think what's more consistent is that he's around that Gear 2 Luffy range until proven otherwise. And
That's
if we
fair.
were to use reanimated Datara and say that he like scales to KCM Naruto or whatever, then it's possible that he would be able to catch the W. But I'm talking about, you know, alive Datara, you know, in the Akatsuki, and that Datara barely has any lightspeed scaling whatsoever.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would give the W to Crocodile. However, in equal stats, Datara might just get the W because he has so much range and he could even turn Croc's attacks into explosives. So in a normal fight, it'd be Crocodile, but in equal stats, I'd give it to Datara.
Yeah.
Sasori versus Doflamingo. The Battle of the Strings.
Croc's worst enemy's plot armor? Was his Logan body explosions are trash? I guess.
Find this matchup to be a
But he
little
could maybe
interesting
figure it
since
out,
both
like,
characters have unique
they're
movesets.
not
Doflamingo
dumb,
has the ability to
but
make string
I don't know.
clones, manipulate
I
people
don't
with
know.
string, or even
Wait, who
turn
was he comparing?
Sasori versus Doflamingo.
Oh,
The
Sasori
Battle
versus
of the String
Doflamingo.
Users. I find this matchup.
Ooh. I'm pretty sure Doflamingo's faster, so I'll give it to Doflamingo, to be honest.
To be a little interesting since both characters have unique movesets. Doflamingo has the ability to make string clones, manipulate people with string, or even turn the whole area around him into it. Meanwhile, Sasori has Iron Sand, which if it could connect, could actually do something to Doflamingo along with poison. However, I do not think Sasori's attacks would ever land on Doflamingo due to the immense speed gap.
Yeah.
By this point, we're entering
It's just
the
a massive speed
post-time
gap.
skip era of the characters, meaning these guys are well into light speed, as pre-time skip characters are already reaching that tier. And then in post-time skip, we get base Luffy doing even better than what he did in Gear 2 against the Pacifistas, and then you have Gear 2 stacking on that, and then you have Luffy getting stronger as the arcs progress. I think you guys can see where this is going. Doflamingo also withstood Gear 4 Luffy's punch, which was calced at country level, and Sasori I don't really think has anything. Like, we know that his puppets can apparently take over a country, which is
Nah, Sasori, he's just like AP based, and that's with poison. Like if he poisons you, it's GG's for the most part, but it has to land like he said. And since Dolphy's that much faster, it's not gonna happen at all.
just like, oh my god, cool.
Doflamingo's
But
going for
yeah, the
Sasori
speed
puppets?
gap is just too big, and
That'd be
Doflamingo
kinda
would
cool to
pit
see.
back Sasori. To put it this way, Sasori's best lightspeed scaling is from the games where he apparently scales to Orochimaru.
Puppets are string,
Orochimaru
dang.
being a character relative to Hiruzen, and you already know he should scale above the likes of Haku. You know, Haku has mirrors. You guys already understand. Raikage, yeah, you get it. This same Zoro is relative to Gear 2 Luffy in pre-time skip, and then when we enter post-time skip, base Luffy does better than those two. And it was still a struggle to take Doflamingo down, and we know that Gear 4 is a several times amp on top of what he already has, which is bare minimum 3 times. Meaning base Luffy, who would be above the Luffy who is 18 times the speed of light, can use Gear 2, which would mean he can go 180 times the speed of light, can stack that by 3 times, and can now move at 540 times the speed of light. And Doflamingo does scale to Luffy.
Huh? um, what? That means real. Okay. What?
Speed. Doflamingo slaps him. However, in equal stats, I think it is definitely possible for Sasori to win because he has poison, iron sand. It would be weird because both of these characters have crazy ranged attacks. However, I think Sasori has more going for him than Doflamingo. And also, we have the fact that he legit isn't going to be destroyed unless his core is destroyed. So in equal stats, Sasori wins, but in a normal fight, it would go to Doflamingo. Next fight, Kuma versus Kakuzu. Both are not only tanks, but surprisingly have versatility to them. Kakuzu has all 5 elements.
I know
and
that
a lot of
that 580 has my head spinning, bro. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't explain it, but it's like, bro, what?
Bro just got outsped by base Naruto. But what's funny is Kuma got folded arguably even worse than Kakuzu did, but the difference here is that we know that Kuma upskills from the pacifistas, who despite being able to dodge the lasers, overall were just not being able to compete with them. And on top of all of this, Kuma with one swipe could just send Kakuzu off the battlefield, and that's it.
He actually scales to the two-tail.
Bro, my ears. Yeah, I see Sanji, the Denjin, yeah.
Who with the two tails and the war arc, even though they're reanimated and have the Sharingan and Rinnegan and are clearly stronger than their base selves, scale to KCM Naruto, bro.
Kakuzu survived the Rasen Shuriken for like 10 seconds before dying, and this was
Jesus
calculated to be, like, at
Christ.
small town level. Kuma, even with the super big low ball, should be way above city, plus has BFR. Kakuzu and Kuma as well, I think, should be somewhat relative in speed. Then again, I'm not so very sure because the Kakashi nothing compared to his war arc self, and then Haku would go on to react to that Kakashi. It's just really weird, and I also
Yeah, the thing about Naruto, it's so inconsistent because they made the war because of the reanimated versions of characters. They like scale to current characters, but back then couldn't compete with the older versions of certain characters. If that makes sense. It was like, huh? For example, let me say one thing, right? Put it to max volume, you're crazy. Laggy stream, bro, shut your stream. Yeah, shut your stream. Okay, so for example, the whole Haku thing. Haku can move at the speed of light, right? But Haku's able to keep up with War Arc Kakashi, which is so much stronger. So much stronger than the Naruto bridge. And that Haku is able to compete with that same Kakashi, which means that and hold on, and reanimated versions are much weaker than their alive forms. Wait, bro, it makes no sense. it literally makes no sense. and these Naruto scalers, they take that and run with it, and they get Naruto to like crazy amount of speed, like past the 580 multiplier that the guy said. I'm like, bro, what?
also don't think
Scaling is
Kakuzu,
so
who,
dumb.
Again, lost to a base Naruto and lost
Scaling
to a
is
base
so
Rasen
dumb.
Shuriken would upscale from the likes of the Raikage. Kuma, in my opinion, takes both rounds. Next up, we have Jinbei versus Kisame, the two fishmen of their respective group, who would come out on top if they were to fight. Well, Kisame's biggest advantage
Is War Kakashi light speed? I don't think so, personally. But I'm not a scaler, so ask a scaler. A scaler probably say like 10 times the speed of light or some nonsense like that.
would probably come from his tailless Biju state, which allows him to summon a body of water to gain the advantage over someone. However, Kisame does not know that Jinbei can not only fight in water and fight better in water, just throw Kisame's ball of water legit at him and just take him down with his own supply, which he would be capable of doing, as we know that he's able to press the likes of Big Mom, and he would upscale from the
Big Mama, Jinbei.
Meaning he'd upscale from Katakuri, who was able to slap Gear 4 Luffy, who we already established has MFTL scaling, and then Luffy would go on to upscale from this version of Gear 4 in base. And then we know that Luffy would go on to use Gear 4 against Kaido, get one shot, and then we know that Luffy's new base form is actually just stronger than that version of Gear 4. And we know
One
that
thing I can't say about scaling, which I find to be kind of weird, it's like, so, this is like a not horror, but like, I'm just naming characters. Let's just say, Luffy beat Kaido in the fight, right? But when Luffy and Usopp fought each other, he was able to slap Luffy. So therefore, that means that Usopp can beat Kaido. Like some people like use stuff like that. I'm like, I don't think that's how that works. But maybe I'm wrong.
base Luffy was
not saying
the
like
weakest of Kaido's commanders, which means
shows are
Jinbei
weird.
would
Yeah, I know,
upscale
it's
from
so
his base
weird.
Luffy. Kisame sadly gets the next fight. Honestly,
No, it's just an example
Go
or like
versus-
an analogy. It's not like literally those characters, but I'm just saying like in general. I'm just saying. Not actually. I'm just saying like an example of like scaling characters based off of what characters did to other characters, but what they did to a certain character, if that makes sense. I worded that so badly, but
Go. Law versus Itachi. Unfortunately, though,
Itachi
Itachi
clears.
is just way too slow for any of his abilities to work, and Law could just neg every organ in his body, turn him into Swiss cheese, or completely incapacitate him.
yeah,
Like I already mentioned, the crazy scaling for Jinbei. This man, Law, actually scales to Kaido and Big Mom. However, for
Yeah,
equal
that's fair.
stats, I think Law unfortunately might lose, because if Itachi just gets his Genjutsu off its wraps, there's really nothing Law can do to counter it. Plus, we also have the Susanoo just being an instant one-shot. However, if Law can hit Itachi before Itachi can hit him, then
yeah. So who
Law
hits each
could
other
maybe.
first wins.
However, it's safer to say I think that Itachi
With equal
would
stats,
get his
obviously.
Genjutsu off. More than likely, Law would get an attack off. And so, for that reason, I will say Law in a normal fight would beat Itachi up, but in equal stats, Itachi would win. And I specifically have saved these last two matchups, as these four characters represent the two strongest Akatsuki members and the two strongest Warlords. The first fight will be Mihawk versus Obito. Now, with Obito's powers,
What
it'd be
Obito?
really annoying.
If he's talking about Jubito, I would give it to Jubito. If he's not, even still, Kamui's broken. All I do is touch you once and it's wraps.
For anyone to really fight him with relative stats plus his Sharingan, but normally I think Mihawk is just way faster than Obito, being above the likes of Shanks, and unironically Mihawk would look like he's using Obito's ability against them due to how big the speed gap is. Obito would
That's
not
fair.
be able to cast Kamui before Mihawk's blade meets his skull. And equal stats, sure, you can give it to Obito. And for the last matchup, we have Blackbeard
Blackbeard.
versus Pain. Now in equal stats, it's low-key kind of interesting since Blackbeard wouldn't be able to touch them, but none of the Pains wouldn't really be able to affect him. Now, obviously, Chakra and Haki are different, but when it comes to these versus battles, we usually have the energies equalized to make things simple. Therefore, Blackbeard with his Darkness Fruit would be able to negate some of the Pain's abilities. I could see the Human Path catching Blackbeard off guard and stripping Bro's soul away, but if it's Blackbeard with both fruits, I think the sheer range of his attacks, along with him being able to negate everyone's abilities, I don't really think it's a discussion. The Akatsuki, although
That's
having
fair.
a hierarchy, I felt like were very consistent with their powers. And by the end game, they were kind of irrelevant. However,
Yeah,
because the Warlords
I wouldn't say
vary
kinda,
in
they're very
strength with
relevant.
characters that are legit some of the strongest in the verse at this point, along with some of the weakest characters and the most inconsistent ones. In terms of the scope of the scaling, it's just they have way higher highs. And I'm basically trying to say in a nice
Choppa.
way, the Akatsuki get shitted on.
Oh my, bro, you ain't gotta scream my ear like that. Oh my god, I got like a migraine.